Now let's jump onto the basics. So for basics, we are going to use app.java. Okay. So first thing that we have learned, okay, in the last class is what is a variable. So what are the different types of data? Anyone quickly that we have learned?
Integer, character, float.
Correct. Integer, character, and float.
Primitive data types.
Primitive data types. Correct. So primitive data types are basic data types. So how to tell a compiler that I want to create a variable? What are the three important things? One is size.
Data type name.
Correct. One is size that I want to reserve. Second is the name that I want to give. And third is value. Remember, I want to tell the compiler that reserve this size in the RAM. Give this name to the size that you have reserved and give this value to the reserve location. Correct? Am I correct?
Yes.
This is what we have done, right? So I also told you that each data type comes with its own size, right? Integer, let's say 4 byte, character 2 byte, and float 8 byte. So that is a size that we are talking about. So if I want to tell a compiler that please reserve 4 bytes of size for me, I'll say int. Okay. So by saying int, it will understand, okay, I have to reserve the size of 4 byte, right? So let's say I want to create a variable. So let's call the variable as, let's say I. I is the name of the variable. Okay. What is the size? Let's say int, which is, what does int mean? Int means that it is of 4 byte. And what is the value? It is, let's say 0. Okay. So this is how I create a variable in Java. Any questions how to create a variable? Okay. We have already learned it many times, so I think no. Similarly, I can create other variable. Let's say, let me type it. So char c equals to, let's say a. Remember, characters are in single quote. Now float f is equals to 1.1. Okay. Now, last time when we have learned, we have seen that, okay, float f equals to 1.1 would do. But here it is giving a red line under 1.1. Correct?
You can mention f 1.1 f.
Correct. So for those who don't know, so just now we have seen that anything which is red, meaning there is something wrong with the code. So if you want to see what is wrong, just put your cursor there. So it says type mismatch cannot convert from double to float. It is saying I cannot convert the double value into float value. Where is double? Have I written anywhere double?
Double is also 1.1 double. Then it is okay.
Okay. No, but by default, any decimal is assigned as a double.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
by default, Java will consider the decimal values as double.
correct. So in Java, specifically in Java, if you don't specify explicitly, if you don't go and extend and tell the compiler that no, this is not double, this is a float value, then it will take that as a double because it is trying to preserve the data, because data is the most important thing. If you lose the data in any which ways or form, then it is a crime in programming. You should not lose the data. It's the entire thing we started with the concept that data is important, right? We started our entire discussion with data. Why? Because the data is the most important thing. Today, the biggest company in the world is heavily relying on data. Google, right? Google is Google only because of data. If it didn't have those data, then it would not have been Google, period. Okay. So trimming the data or losing the data in any which ways is a crime. That's the reason why compiler tries to preserve the data as much as possible. So if you're saying 1.1, it will give it a more space so that it should not lose the data. But if you're confident that no, it will not lose the value, you have to explicitly say that it is float. How do you say that? By appending f at the end. So now we are saying to the compiler that no, this is not a double. Please treat this value as float. So float has lesser size or requires less size as compared to double. Double requires more size because it has higher precision value. Float has a lower precision value. Okay, similar to int and long. Last time, I think Suraj brought up the point of long, right? Long, I can store a bigger number, which is of integer type only. But in int, I can store a smaller integer. Okay, there is something lower than int also. But for now, we are sticking with int and long, float and double. Okay, let's not go into double also. So these are three data types and this is how we initialize it. So now